Today, we're going to ask the question, what's the difference between wrapping in foil and wrapping in paper when it comes to smoke? We've got two equally wrapped pork shoulders, so they're the same size and the same thickness. So hopefully you can identify the small differences. So we're going to call this the science of smoking.
It's said that for every pound of meat, you need to cook it about 2 hours. So our 7-pound pork butts are going to take about 14 hours to cook. They also talk about when your meat reaches about 160 degrees, the cooking slows down dramatically. And that's when you wrap it with foil or paper to help get through that stall.
So today we're smoking on a Traeger Silverton 6 Series. We've got it at 225 degrees. We're going to do the
So the meats were on for about 5 hours, going up about 16 degrees per hour. And then we hit the famous smoker's stall where the meats quit heating up at about 153 degrees. So that's when I brought the meats inside, and that happened at about 1 in the morning. And I wrapped one with tin foil. It'll be about 4 layers thick, and the other one in butcher paper, also about 4 layers thick. The theory is by wrapping these and insulating them, we break through the stall quicker.
So the foil wrapped meat has already reached the goal temperature of 205 degrees. It hit that at about 11 hours and 45 minutes of smoking at 225 level. So we're just going to unpack this. I've already had it in the cooler for a half hour, wrapped in a towel, letting it relax. So now the meat's down to 175 degrees temperature. A lot of moisture trapped inside the foil. So the bark is very soft. Great taste, very moist. Tear up this meat. And then you got to do the sampling. We are now at 18 hours from the start time, and finally the paper wrapped pork shoulder is done. Just going to unroll it here. The paper is very wet. The top of this meat is very similar to the foil meat. In fact, it is maybe a little more moist. Let's just give this a try. It does have a little more texture to it, not quite as moist as the foil.
So I wanted to review with you what happened to the meats as they cooked. Both meats started out at room temperature, 72 degrees, and they started cooking at about 16 degrees an hour for the first 6 hours. And then you see the curve plateaued or flattened out, so the temperature quit rising. This is when I took the meats off and wrapped them with foil and with butcher paper. And you can see almost immediately the foil wrapped meats began to go up really rapidly and ended up at about 12 hours, or beat our predicted time by 2 hours, where the paper wrapped meat never really recovered and cooked very slowly and ended up taking 4 more hours than the predicted 14 hours to cook that. In fact, we never really got it to 205 degrees because I got impatient and took it off the smoker so we could serve dinner at about 197. So our weekend experiment definitely shows that butcher paper gives you a little better texture of your meat, but tin foil helps your meat cook almost 30% faster, cuts hours off of a long smoke of a thick meat. I did spend some time researching why this is. It turns out the tin foil conducts heat 4,500 times better than does paper. And it also reflects the heat back into the meat 9 times better than paper. In fact, it reflects 98% of the heat back in, where paper only reflects 10% back in. Now, I assume this is really important for thick meats like a pork butt, but for thin meats like ribs, it may not matter. And in fact, there's several YouTube videos suggesting it doesn't make a difference. That concludes our video. We hope you've enjoyed it.